Good evening, live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television here. We present to you tonight's news bulletin. But first, the headlines. Within the royal interest of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq on developing the governorate of Musandam, the Council of Ministers approved several projects. His Majesty the Sultan directs to speed up the implementation of what has been approved by the Council of Ministers work on setting up a system for managing and operating these areas. The Ministry of Health reports 14 deaths and 1,931 new COVID-19 cases in the Sultanate. And the Ministry of Finance succeeds in issuing a Sharia-compliant sukuk worth $1.75 billion. Good evening once again, and thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq has sent a cabal of greetings to His Excellency Dr. Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa, President of the Portuguese Republic, on his country's National Day. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq sends a written message to the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The message is related to the strong bilateral relations binding the two countries and means of strengthening joint cooperation aspects. The message was handed over by His Excellency Sayyid Badr bin Hamad Al Busaidi, Foreign Minister, during his meeting with His Highness Prince Faisal bin Farhan, Foreign Minister of Saudi Arabia. His Excellency, the Foreign Minister, conveyed greetings and best wishes of His Majesty Sultan Haytham to the custodian of the two holy mosques, wishing him good health and happiness and the Saudi people further progress and prosperity. In turn, His Highness the Saudi Foreign Minister asked His Excellency to convey the greetings and best wishes of the custodian of the two holy mosques to His Majesty Sultan Haytham, wishing him good health and happiness and the Omani people further progress and prosperity. The meeting was attended by His Highness Sayyid Faisal bin Turki Al Said, Sultanate's ambassador accredited to Saudi Arabia, and his delegation. Within the interest of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq to develop Musandam Governorate and achieve a comprehensive sustainable development and economic diversification based on the competitive elements owned by the Governorate, in addition to make it more attractive for investment, the Council of Ministers approved the establishment of a branch of the University of Technology and Applied Sciences in the Governorate that includes a number of specializations. The Council also approved the construction of an integrated system for strategic stocks aimed at achieving food and drug security in the Governorate, and the transformation of Khasab Port into a special logistic hub aimed at providing services and facilities that help activate the import and export movement and open direct lines for exports. The Council endorsed the establishments of special tourist economic zones that serve as the engine for tourism investments in the Governorate and a stimulant for the logistic movement associated with it. It also approved the declaration of Mahas area as an economic zone with the aim of regulating light and medium industries and storage in a way that supports the movement in Khasab Port. His Majesty the Sultan directs the Cabinet to speed up the implementation of what has been approved by the Council work on setting up a system for managing and operating these areas, structuring the incentives and facilities necessary to enhance their competitiveness, and proposing appropriate mechanisms to present them to investors. The Ministry of Transport, Communications and Information Technology has confirmed that it is proceeding with the necessary procedures for the development of Khasab Port in the Governorate of Musandam. The Ministry of Transport, Communications and Information Technology confirms that it is proceeding with the completion of the necessary procedures for the development of Khasab Port by submitting an earlier bid to manage, operate and develop the port. The ministry said that it has coordinated with the competent authorities to launch a consultation tender to choose a different route of the Diba Lima Khasab Road and prepare the tender documents for implementation. The Civil Aviation Authority coordinating with the relevant authorities to transfer Khasab Airport for civil and military use after the completion of its study projects to develop and enrich the tourism and economic aspects in the governorate. The authority approved the regulatory requirements for a seaplane base and invited investors wishing to establish an amphibious airline in several locations in the Sultanate, including Khasab and Diba in the Musandam Governorate. His Excellency General Sultan bin Mohammed al-Nu'mani, Minister of the Royal Office, received in his office today His Excellency Ali Najafi Khorshudi, Ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran, accredited to the Sultanate. During the meeting, His Excellency the Minister of the Royal Office welcomed the ambassador, who thanked the Sultanate for its efforts in the region. The meeting also touched on several topics of joint interest and reviewed the march of the relations binding the Sultanate and Iran. The Minister of Health today reported 1,931 new cases of COVID-19 and 14 deaths. The total number of cases registered in the Sultanate has now reached 228,579, including 2,448 deaths. The total number of recoveries is 206,844, while the recovery rate is 90.5%. 128 people were admitted to hospitals across the country, taking the total number of inpatients to 1,021, including 329 in intensive care units. For the first time since the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, the number of inpatients in COVID-19 wards in the Sultanate hospitals exceeds 1,000, while the number of patients in ICUs exceeds 300. Doctors affirmed that some people contracted the virus again and needed oxygen due to the fact that they did not receive the vaccine, while those who received the dose did not contract the disease again. A number of repercussions were registered for patients who contracted the virus for the second time. Medical cadres at corona wards and intensive care units at the Sultanate hospitals are working under constant pressure due to the sharp increase in COVID-19 cases. An official from the Ministry of Health stated that for the first time in the Sultanate, the total number of COVID-19 patients reached 1,021, including 329 cases in intensive care units. National COVID-19 immunization campaign continues in various wilayas of the Governorate of North Al-Batina. The campaign covers those eligible to second dose from citizens and residents, in addition to state administrative apparatus staff and general diploma students. Precautionary measures were taken during the campaign process, which witnessed wide participation of the target group. 6 vaccination centers distributed in various wilayas of the Governorate were allocated for the vaccination process. The campaign will also continue to cover other society segments. National COVID-19 immunization campaign continues in various wilayas of the Governorate of Al-Buraymi. The campaign witnessed a wide participation of target group and those eligible to the second dose. The Minister of Health campaign covered almost 70% of those eligible to the second dose. There was growing concern over the side effect of the vaccine among people, but the Ministry of Health stated that there is no side effect of the vaccine due to intense awareness campaigns launched by the Ministry of Health. More people are now willing to receive the vaccine. The campaign starts from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to the large number of people in the target group. The national COVID-19 campaign, as stated, continues across the Sultanate. More details in this particular report that I was present, and here are the details. The national campaign to cover those eligible for COVID-19 vaccine continues across the Sultanate. where many of these centers have witnessed a heavy turnout. Here at Sultan Qaboos Sports Complex in Bosher Governorate of Muscat, people have expressed their happiness for being vaccinated against COVID-19. And their happiness is supported with a degree of confidence in the vaccination for being safe, at the same time advising others to come forward and have their vaccines.
I have completed my second dose, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Nothing happened to me. I would like to thank the Ministry of Health, the Supreme Committee also, and I would like to encourage citizens to come and take the first and the second dose so we finish the coronavirus in this country.
My name is Muawiyah Rawahi, and now I am at Sultan Qaboos Sports Complex. I just took my first shot of COVID-19 vaccination, and I am very happy that I got the vaccine, and I advise everyone to go and vaccinate. This is a responsibility you have.
I have came with my grandpa today and with my grandma. They have taken the first dose, and I'm looking forward to take mine. I can't wait that everyone can take their first dose and the second so we can be free of corona. Thank you for the government.
Healthcare workers are exerting their dedicated efforts at the same time are pleased to see a huge number of people coming to have their vaccine.
We, the frontline healthcare workers, are united to expedite the work of providing vaccines to all people in Oman. And we're very happy to see that many people are coming to have their vaccination.
I'm very happy to be one of the nurses giving vaccines here at Sultan Qaboos Sports Complex. And it's really great to see many Omani and residents coming here to have their vaccines. Let us remind one and all, though you have taken your vaccines, we need to continue precautionary measures to stay safe and healthy.
Oman, we are united for you to stay free from coronavirus.
Indeed, Oman, we are united for you. So let's all work together. Those who have taken the vaccine have stayed calm, and they're now not contracting the disease. While in the same house, you'll find people who have not taken the vaccine and they're not following the precautionary measures, have now contracted the disease, unfortunately. So please, let's stick to the precautionary measures. We have just heard that the hospitals are full with their patients and ICU is completely occupied. Let's all work together to prevent the coronavirus. And now we continue with the news. The Royal Oman Police is continuing to implement the vaccination campaign against COVID-19 for its employees. As part of the national campaign to receive the vaccine against the emerging COVID-19, the Royal Oman Police, in cooperation with the Minister of Health, vaccinated its employees with the first dose of the vaccine in the governorates of Al-Buraymi, Musandam, South Al-Batina, South Al-Sharqiyya, North Al-Sharqiyya, while the medical teams continue to vaccinate police employees in the rest of the Sultanate's governorates, according to the field plan for the immunization that was approved by the General Police Command. Watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and yet to come in our news bulletin. The first batch of 22 male and female graduates with the Cambridge program in English language were employed in various institutions in the Sultanate. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The Minister of Finance has successfully issued a tranche of Sharia-compliant sukuk, achieving oversubscription by more than 6.5 times. The Minister of Finance has succeeded in issuing the Sharia-compliant sukuk worth $1.75 billion with a 9-year maturity as part of funding process incorporated in the government's plan to fund financial needs of 2021 which maintains a disciplined public debt profile. The bonds that received a heavy demand from the international investors and investment institutions were oversubscribed by more than 6.5 times. Air Vice Marshal Khamis Hamad Al Ghafri, commander of the Royal Air Force of Oman, RAFO, took part today in the 25th meeting of the GCC Air Force Commanders, which held this morning via video call. The virtual meeting discussed several topics that aim to enhance the joint military cooperation between the number of countries. To supply the education market with the national outcomes and replace the expatriates with them, 22 male and female graduates with the first batch of Cambridge program of qualifying the English language are employed in various institutions in the Sultanate. The graduates passed the scientific and practical phase within 15 months, where they granted with needed skills and experiences to join the labor market. The program targeted graduates of higher education specialized in English language and literature, and they chose according to terms and conditions set by the Ministry of Higher Education, Scientific Research and Innovation, with the framework of appointing the academic staff. The graduation ceremony was presided over by Her Excellency Dr. Rahma bint Ibrahim Al Mahruqiyya, Minister of Higher Education, Scientific Research and Innovation. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Within the royal interest of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq on developing the Governorate of Musandam, the Council of Ministers approved several projects. His Majesty the Sultan directs to speed up the implementation of what has been approved by the Council of Ministers, work on setting up a system for managing and operating these areas. The Ministry of Health reports 14 deaths and 1,931 new COVID-19 cases in the Sultanate. And the Minister of Finance succeeds in issuing a Sharia-compliant sukuk worth $1.75 billion. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin brought to you live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. From the entire news team here in the studio and the entire Ministry of Information, we thank you for joining us. Wish you a pleasant evening, and remember, do follow up the precautionary measures to stay safe and healthy. And if you are targeted for that vaccine, go and take it. Oman needs you. Good night.